Welcome back to the Bourbon Ballistics Podcast. Today we're sitting down with two guys who are chasing a vision that most people would have abandoned years ago. Steve Johnston and Finn West are the founders of Nevada Shooting Sports, which is an ambitious project that aims to create premier shooting sports destination right here in Northern Nevada. But this episode really isn't about just a shooting range. It's about entrepreneurship, it's about partnerships, it's about taking an idea that sounds good over a cup of coffee and trying to make it into reality. Steve comes with the hospitality and firearms industry background, while Finn is a retired Marine Corps EOD tech that's had multiple combat deployments and decades of leadership experience. On paper, these are two very different guys, but when they met, they realized they shared a common vision. And instead of becoming competitors, they decided to build something together. In this episode, we sit down and talk about how they met, why they chose collaboration over competition, the lessons they've learned building a large-scale business, and the sacrifices that they've made along the way, all to ensure that the reality of this dream that they had comes to fruition. Trust me, if you've ever thought about starting a business, pursuing a goal, or building something bigger than yourself, there's a lot of lessons in this episode that go far beyond the firearms industry. I couldn't have picked a more fitting bottle for this conversation. This bourbon is all about building on a solid foundation and investing more time, more patience, and more effort to create something better than what you started with. That theme runs throughout this entire episode, so pour yourself a glass, settle in, and enjoy the conversation with Steve Johnston and Finn West of Nevada Shooting Sports.
I cross state lines with hillbillies and guns. It's been a hell of a ride and a whole lot of fun. They gave me many names down there in Dixie, but the main one that stuck on me was whiskey.
Steve Johnston, Finn West, how are you guys doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
You guys, this has been a long time in the making. I mean, we first met, I think in the fall. When I first came over here.
That sounds right.
And then it's just been scheduling conflict after scheduling conflict. And you guys are working on something huge. And so we are going to talk about that today. And I don't know how far into the process you are, but we'll get into that story. But
Sure.
before we really delve into why you guys are here, I want to talk more about how you guys got here. So you guys are partners in Nevada Shooting Sports. You guys are creating almost a movement in Reno, in Northern Nevada.
We're definitely trying.
You guys are working on it,
Yeah.
right?
Correct.
So you guys are from two completely different sides of the earth, essentially, from work as far as it goes.
Yeah.
Let's start, Finn. Let's start with you. Let's talk about your background.
Sure.
And then we'll lead in, Steve, and we'll talk about yours, and then we'll talk about the meshing of your guys and your business ventures.
Great.
So, Finn, go ahead.
Well, I was in the Marine Corps for 20 years. I initially started out thinking I was going to be a police officer when I was about 23, went to the police academy and graduated, and right around that time 9/11 happened, and I decided that it would be an opportune time to wade into the military because I thought that'd be quite the adventure. And of course, like a lot of people around that time, I had a real patriotic streak in the wake of the 9/11 attacks. And I got lucky enough to just end up in all the right places at all the right times. I got out of my job school in the Marine Corps just in time to be told not to unpack. We're going to go invade Iraq, and we got there in time, and we were forming up in Kuwait, and we're there for the stepping off into the invasion. Then I went again, and I was there for Fallujah 2, Operation Phantom Fury, which was a big milestone in that conflict, and did, I think, one more deployment there. And then I decided to move over to being a bomb technician because I got all kinds of poor influences from cool bomb technicians that made it seem like a really good idea. And it did. It ended up being one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And I got to have a job that made me interested enough to where I could stay in for 20 years, and that's what I did.
Dang.
And got to my 20-year mark, couldn't stand to stay one more day with the way things were going around that time, and got out, moved up here. I have family up here, and always liked the area, and really couldn't have been happier, and that's kind of where Steve and I's story started to merge.
Awesome. Hey, Steve?
Yeah. Thanks. I was actually born and raised overseas. My parents, American parents, worked for the U.S. government overseas, and so I was born in an army hospital in Germany, and spent all my years growing up there. Got to travel a lot. Was really blessed with that. Came after graduating, and did college in Southern California, and then for the last 23 years I've lived in Nevada. Last 17 here in Reno. I spent 24 years in the hotel management business and had a great career in that. Also, kind of as a side gig like we all have these days, I've been a licensed firearms dealer for over 15 years as a dealer and licensed manufacturer. And so I've been in that industry for quite a while. So that's kind of my just a very brief version of my background. But I just kind of my passion turned out to be more into the firearms industry. But I had a great time working in hotels all those years. Got plenty of stories, but
yeah, I can imagine.
Just say I enjoyed it, but I'm not going to say that I miss it.
Okay, so let's, I guess, take a step back. Let's focus on the joining. How did you guys meet?
Maybe I'll take the lead on that since I kind of knew about Steve before he knew about me.
Correct,
Okay.
So when I retired from the Marine Corps, I came up here, and I have a passion for firearms. I immediately started the process of getting my federal firearms license and becoming an NRA instructor, and so was in that process and was going around all these business meetups and local gatherings along those lines, and I was telling everybody, well, I'm interested in owning a firearms related business, whether that be a store or a range, and I just want to come and see what the business climate is here and run that past a lot of people and see what kind of feedback I got back. And the feedback that I received was, there's this other guy around here.
Yeah.
His name's Steve, and he's been working on a project like that for actually a few years now. Mm-hmm. And you probably need to figure out whether or not you guys are going to be best friends or worst enemies. And so somebody gave me his number, and I called him up, and we met over coffee. We had a discussion, found out where our minds were aligned in a lot of ways, and I'll let Steve take over from there.
Yeah. So I had to give, I guess, with you a little bit in the background of what we were joining together doing, and what that was a Nevada Shooting Sports being a new development project to build a regional indoor shooting facility in Reno, Nevada. And so the genesis of that is not something that was all that unusual for a successful startup or entrepreneurial journey. It was quite simply identifying that there was this quite well-defined unmet need in our market for a high-quality facility where people can come and as new shooters, experienced shooters, have a good quality experience both in shooting, retail, as well as training, education. And so the demand was there for it. And so and I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more detail about that, but we had saw the opportunity, saw the demand, and it just came forward similar to, again, like a lot of other success stories. Instead of just saying someone should build something, the decision was made to go ahead and forward and start the project and put it into development. And so we were well through the development with planning, site selection, due diligence, a lot of these steps that you have to do when you're starting up a new venture. And so the project was already kind of had moved forward and was marching towards groundbreaking. We all had some hiccups around COVID time and things like that, so we all kind of had to deal with that timeline. But coming out of that and regaining momentum with the project is when I had the opportunity to meet Finn, and he came in, and not only was our alignment synced very, very well, it was also the fact that we have so many great firearms people with retail experience, instructors, veterans, people who want to either be members at our facility or work there with us. But Finn was specifically the strongest voice who ever came to me and said, how can I get involved right now? Like, what can I do to become a part of this and move this forward? And it was that message that I received, directly, and saw, okay, this is this isn't just someone giving us a pat on the back or telling us, "Hey, can't wait till you're open." It was an obvious fit to have someone come in and breathe a little kind of fresh air into the project as we were regaining momentum, and also kind of provided that kind of different perspective with his different background and different point of view into a project that was already well established.
So one of the things I think that we kind of talked about it a little bit before we started, but one of the hardest things I think for people to do is share a vision, right? And especially when you have this really incredible idea, I think as humans, we just want to have the glory, right? And I think you guys having kind of similar visions, but then deciding we're going to be stronger if we work on this together. I mean, what does that feel like?
I think one of the things that really we both noticed when we started out was we have some very different inclinations as far as what parts of the business we prefer to be focused on. Right. And when we kind of figured out that there was a yin and yang type of situation as far as the things that we really were hyper-focused on in the parts of the business, that was a kind of key indicator that, hey, this would be a good partnership and we're not going to be stepping on each other's toes very much.
Yeah, 100%. I count on Finn to have that, again, different point of view, but in alignment. And I know that I'm not going to go to him and hear my own words back to me, but I am going to hear something productive that's going to, again, move this vision forward. And so to have that in a partner is, I guess, invaluable. You can't even put a price on it.
It was also really helpful that he had been working on it for a couple of years, so he had some of this stuff figured out already. Yeah. And as a dumb Marine who doesn't know very much about business, it was, of course, like drinking from a fire hose at first, but he was able to break things down into small words, short sentences, and when we were in a meeting and I was kind of doing like the north to south head motions, and then after the fact I was like, hey, all right, explain exactly what this and this meant. And he's very patiently helped me through some of that stuff, and it's been a great experience.
Hey, before we get any farther into the conversation, we've already presented the bottle, talked about it a little bit. We've all had some Barrell products, I think, throughout the years. They have a ton. I mean, this one's been up on my shelf. I've been really waiting for the right guests at this juncture to share this one with. So I've never tried this one. It's the Barrell Foundation Double Barrel. It's a 5-year 100 proof. It's a mix of straights, and I think online, I mean, it seems like it's got a pretty good bunch of sweet notes to it. The blend seems to be something that we should all enjoy. I think from what little I know about you guys, I think we should be okay. So let's get this poured up, and then we'll get into more of the conversation. All right?
Sounds like
sounds
Let's
great.
see those glasses, boys.
Set that one there.
Thanks, sir.
You're welcome.
Almost all your ice is melted already.
Okay, at 100 proof, should I be expecting this to knock my socks off?
And we'll see. I mean, from uncorking that bottle, I mean, it does seem a little oaky, but let's get a nose on it, boys. Thank you for
Cheers. Thanks for being here.
Of course. Okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem overpowering.
No, it doesn't seem bad. I mean, it's definitely a little. I think for me personally, on a little bit on the spicier side for a 5-year. Not as sweet as I had imagined off the opening and uncorking that bottle. What are you guys' initial thoughts?
Yeah, no, definitely not too sweet. Not harsh at all. Yeah. I think that in some of these, that 5-year hit that sweet spot, and I think this is one of those. It's definitely something that you could do neat or on the rocks for sure. Drinking mine on the rocks right now, and it's a really enjoyable. Yeah. It's something I could sip, probably smaller sips, but something I could definitely sip on for a while.
Finn, what's your thoughts?
I got a little concerned when you started talking about how sweet it might be. So that's usually not the end of where my preferences are. And I'm pretty happy with, with nice mellow on the sweetness side, but that little spice you talked about, I enjoy. I really like that. And not much of a burn at all. Very smooth, which is always welcome, especially on the first sip. So yeah, I'm a big fan. I think it's an excellent choice.
On a long day on a Friday, I think that it's a good pick for. I've never been disappointed in a Barrell product, honestly, and like I said, this one, I think they did a good job with. 100 proof definitely doesn't drink or smell a nose like 100 proof.
No, not at all.
Nice selection, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Now, what do you guys drink typically? What's your go-to after a long week?
You want to go?
Oh, I play a lot in that kind of $35 to $50 range, and sometimes below there. I like to, whether it's the Heaven Hill or some of the Jeffersons, I like that a lot. When they have a rare bottle of, the E.H. Taylor at Costco in Reno, which sometimes does happen. I like to snag that, and those are, again, that's that sub $50 bottle when you can rarely find it, at that type of a retailer. So I like that a lot. Again, I got no complaints about Buffalo Trace or Elijah Craig either.
Good.
I have a decanter in my garage that's always kept filled, and generally my go-to is something like Jameson's Triple Distilled. It's something that everybody can kind of like creep up on without too much intimidation. And it does offer a little bit more smoothness than obviously your bottom of the barrel Jameson that everybody's pretty much used to from their college days.
Yeah, that is one of the hardest things I think with Jameson is everybody. It's like Jack Daniels, right? You have these bad episodes like PTSD from the one time.
Sure,
but I've never had the triple distilled.
Yeah, it meets a good price point and still offering some quality a little few steps above what we all became used to when we were younger.
Interesting.
On the stronger side, even creeping up past this Barrell 5-year that we're drinking today, kind of probably one of my go-tos on that would be the Old Forester 1920 Prohibition. It's 115, but it doesn't drink like it. It drinks about like a 92. So that's kind of one of my go-tos if I'm feeling like drinking a little bit of a higher proof bourbon.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But I just want to throw it out there that we are hanging out in the Rough Shot bar, and our friend Brad Davis was nice enough to lend us the use of the facility. And when we drink here, what we've been liking a lot recently is Four Roses.
Oh, yeah. They definitely got a lot of new stuff coming out, and I guess they just released like a 25-year, I think. I think I just saw an article about that. But yes, that's an easy no-brainer. Yeah, you can find that. I wanted to ask you guys while we're talking about the bourbon, the Costco brand, the Kirkland, or not Kirkland, is it Kirkland?
Yeah, it's Kirkland.
The Kirkland single barrel, that series.
Yeah.
It's a $29 bottle.
Yeah.
And it is, I've been obsessed with it recently. I think it's amazingly cheap for 100 plus proof single barrel small batch select, and they have it's good. Have you guys tried that?
100%. Actually, I've had both. So I believe, and I think those are the two varieties. I think it is the small batch and then the single barrel. If they're not constantly stocked.
No.
So for me, I see a bottle, I buy it.
I'm not sure if I've tried it yet, unless Steve has snuck it in on me one time when we've been drinking over at his place. But Kirkland, it's like they seem to deliver more for less consistently, whether it be golf balls or bourbon. So I'm not mad about that idea, and I'm looking forward to trying it.
Yeah, if you have the opportunity, if you see it sitting there when you're going through the whiskey aisle, like I said, our Costco down here in Carson, it has an absolute shit ton of it. Yeah. And it's crazy because it's like, obviously I'm going to get a bottle every time I'm in there. But it's a 1792 product. And it is, like I said, for the proof points per dollar, it's a no-brainer. Yeah. It's smooth, it's easy, it's a fun one. So
my latest Costco kind of find on the bourbon side, very recently was a Penelope weeded whiskey there. I think it was just like $26.99, and not the most complicated flavors. It's it's not, when I say lighter, it's not weak as far as proof goes. Pretty standard. I think it's 90 or so, but really smooth drinking. Not too complex, but I was surprised for the price point how enjoyable, kind of just especially kind of as we're getting into better weather in summer, just a really nice kind of a smooth drinking for the price point. That was that Penelope weeded was. I took a chance on a bottle, as we often do, and that one was a really kind of pleasant one to open.
All right, so we got the formalities out of the way. Let's get down to business. Okay, I want to talk about your guys' visions, because partnering, I think, has you had mentioned earlier the yin and yang, and partnering with somebody. When you guys got to that point, when you started actually talking and realizing you guys had a common vision, what does that partnership look like? I mean, how did you guys assume the roles of what you guys are going to be doing in this partnership?
That was actually something that actually has evolved even in the time that we've been working together in actually a really kind of I would say organic and even a fun way. Is that Finn had already talked about, having different focuses and different passions for roles in both the development of the facility and honestly how we're going to be working inside the business once it's open and running. And what we found is that our shared passion and vision for this project, we're actually kind of standing as far as our roles go. We're standing even more so on equal ground, and so and that is a very comfortable place to be. And so that's as far as kind of division of duties and responsibilities. It's something where the more equal we can do that in our business operations and our current efforts, the better that feels.
I totally agree. When we initially started talking, and he was bringing me up to speed on his background, being the general manager of a different hotel systems. He I didn't understand at first how that might transfer to our endeavor here. But when he started talking about how he planned on treating customers and how he wanted to develop a membership system that rewarded people in a way that felt appropriate at every level, and the different ideas for promotions and things to make each customer feel special in a different way no matter where they wanted to come in, it really opened up my aperture about how I envisioned owning this type of establishment. We'll talk, I'm sure, more at length about our VIP membership levels, but and the various amenities that we plan for those people. But at the same token, we were both adamant that we wanted somebody to be able to walk in off the streets and, whether it be with their, son or somebody else who they wanted to introduce to shooting sports, and be able to do that without, insisting that they sign up their firstborn in order to access the facility. And that was the perfect balance as far as I was concerned, because we want this to be a very inclusive model for everybody, because we're just passionate about shooting sports. And if we're not able to address everybody in the community, then we're not doing our jobs as far as we're concerned, I think.
Yeah.
I think that you're talking about, being in the hospitality industry, understanding what the clients or guests, but what they're looking to get out of the experience, and then turning that into an exclusive, a club based, but inclusive enough that everybody can do it. I think that is a very tough equation that you guys are trying to try to solve. And so I think it is neat, because when I hear you guys talk about it, you guys are definitely coming from different points about how to make this business successful. So,
yeah, absolutely. the hospitality background is something that I obviously I did that for 24 years, so I can't not bring it in. Whether it's business operations, whether it's sales, whether it's being responsible for different departments of employees and generating revenue, and then most importantly, taking care of guests and customers. It's something that fits very closely with the style of operation that Finn and I both know has to be in this new facility. And the one thing I want to kind of talk about so much is not so much to focus on the hospitality, but let's talk about the stereotypical experience of someone who's new to firearms, who walks into a gun shop and doesn't know anything about guns, and they walk up to the counter, and what's the either typical or let's say maybe even stereotypical experience of that new shooter. And to make it even kind of a more horrific story, let's say it's a woman, right? And what are all the bad stories we've heard about these type of customers going in and feeling intimidated and not heard and things like that.
Not taken seriously.
Being handed a pink gun from the counter, from under the display just because of that or something like that. That's the gap that we need to step across. And whether it's focusing from my hospitality background or Finn's professional experience, focusing on leading teams to deliver results, that's the focus that we're bringing into this project. We know what we want the customer experience to be, and we're going to be working towards nothing less than expecting the very best experience for our customers, whether it's shooting on the range, whether it's a retail experience, whether it's even some of the other things we haven't talked about yet, like functions, events, even eating in our restaurant, and some other things that we're bringing in, and especially knowing all of our higher level members by face and name. It's something that's not optional for us.
So when you guys, as things progress in this, you guys are starting to see each other's strengths. And I mean, this is an opportunity for you guys to pay compliments to each other. I think. What do you see in Finn that you think that strengthens the idea of the business, the model? I mean, what is it?
Hold on a second. I just want to take a drink so I can
enjoy
drink in this experience.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because when we did our first intros, our backgrounds, including growing up on different continents and things like that. But what's at the same time is there's some, oh gosh, I hate to use the old word synergy, but some of those synergies are there because, again, I grew up my entire childhood on a military base. I knew exactly when I found out Finn's background. I mean, I don't have his life experiences. I don't have active duty experience in the Army. I am a veteran, or I should say he served in the Marine Corps, but my Army experience is not active duties or deployments, but it's still service I'm proud of. But also all of that time growing up, being around that military environment my entire time growing up, when I learned Finn's background, I knew kind of exactly what those nuts and bolts were. And so Finn, and honestly, this is a great thing. There's some things that I've been lucky to learn from him and about him, but there's a lot of things where I was able to translate that pretty smoothly. It wasn't two people from two completely, alien, backgrounds. It was something where I understood a lot about him and his experience and what he could bring to this project. And I think that's one of the reasons why it was so easy to just bring him on board and include him in this project. And it's just been nothing but incredible since that time.
I agree.
Good. The best that ever was.
So my view of what Steve brought to the table and why I kind of instantly thought that this is going to be a great match, and my natural inclination is not to team up on certain things. There's a certain clarity of vision that is obviously an advantage of being a solo operator, but there was just undeniable alignment in what our vision for this was. And when I would bounce ideas off of him, he would come back with aspects of it that I hadn't thought about, some often agreed with but from a different angle. Mm-hmm. And on the few occasions where he was kind of like, well, I don't know, what do you think about this? And I was like, well, I hadn't considered that. And I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's a great point. And, I know this kind of sounds like a love fest between Steve and I here.
I love it, though.
We haven't ruled out just settling down together eventually. But, yeah, we're beating a dead horse here, but there was just so much that we agreed with, and what we didn't agree with, we both respected from each other's different points of view.
So when you guys shared the vision, penned the vision, how much, now we're looking at this, how many years, how many months plus later, mm-hmm. What's changed? I mean, how much retooling have you had to do to get to the point you guys are at today?
Well, let's talk about what Nevada Shooting Sports is, mm-hmm. both as our organization as well as the project, the business and the facility that we're developing. Just so, because I know we've talked about a few things, but I just wanted to just be able to share with everybody kind of, as we're talking about this is what we're bringing to this region, because Finn and I both strongly feel that we are creating a regional facility here in Northern Nevada, located in South Reno. And what this is this is an indoor shooting range facility. It is going to have the most indoor shooting lanes in the state of Nevada, with 24 lanes indoors across 3 bays. It will have a large retail showroom. We're actually even putting a restaurant inside it. And that's something that you see at other kind of upscale or high-end facilities around the country.
Use the word.
What?
Country.
Oh, yeah. So around the time we were developing this, and even still today, they like to use we like to use the term Guntree Club.
Country.
Because it kind of gives that feeling of that kind of higher level experience that people should expect in a facility like ours. Higher level finishes, higher expectations of service and value. And so people can come in and expect that higher level experience. They know that they can get a great opportunity to both use the facility but also access training, education, community resources, and we'll be able to host functions in our space. And we also, in that upstairs level where we have this super flexible function space, where we have over 2,000 square feet of function space that we can actually use partition walls to divide into 3 small classrooms. Further down in that hallway, we are going to have a VIP lounge where our highest level memberships are going to be able to come and feel like they have a space for themselves to belong and
congratulate themselves on being masters of the universe.
Exactly. The lounge, the boardroom, and even we're even making plans to put a cigar room in there.
Oh, cool.
And right now we're trying to figure out the equipment requirements to do a dual use simulator room for both a very high level firearms simulator that will also work as a golf swing suite.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's some of those high level things, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel on these. These are types of facilities that I like to say are we find them more in the Southeast or Texas or some other high end markets. So these are there are facilities like this out there in the country that we are benchmarking off of and trying to again use some of those successes to fill the need here in our community. So we're trying to be 2 things at the same time very deliberately. And that is to be that incredible resource to our community for the region. And at the same time, the other kind of piece of that is also to become a destination attraction for people coming to Northern Nevada, Reno, Tahoe, and similar to what you might see down in Las Vegas. People stay an extra day in Vegas just to shoot the machine guns from the video games and the movies. So that's a deliberate effort that we're making to create an attraction level experience for visitors and also be that amazing resource for our community.
So you guys are going to be nestled right in up against the Sierras-ish, right there off Mount Rose Highway, right? Is that the idea?
Near there, yeah.
Okay. So people coming from Tahoe, say even on a ski trip or up at the lake, they're going to be able to come, have easy access to the facility.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The idea that I describe is is that if someone's maybe saying in South Lake Tahoe, California, for either with a ski trip, summer vacation, they're at a timeshare for the week, bachelor party, something.
Obviously.
They go to the concierge desk at the timeshare resort and they say, hey, we're thinking about driving down to Reno for the day. What is there to do? And right now, when you look on the travel sites, things like that, it's not even looking specifically for a firearms or shooting related experience. It's any type of attraction. People don't want to just go and see things anymore. They want to go and do. And let's face it, the escape rooms and the axe throwing bars, they're in every town and city now. So it's not the novelty that people have to go to a destination city like Reno, Tahoe to get those kind of experiences.
Don't get us wrong. We love the Auto Museum.
Yeah. No, my parents are members. I like to go several times a year.
That's fun.
But it's, again, it's something that you go and see. Whereas we want the person who's mountain biked the Flume Trail the day before or gone zip lining down. Do we say Squaw or do we have to say Palisades?
We definitely say Squaw.
Okay, there we go. So that's that experiential type of customer is something that we want to draw down, down into Reno, Northern Nevada, and we also, again, not just the visitor. Where our primary focus is also being that resource for the community.
So does your idea involve? So those people that are coming down to visit, there's essentially day passes, not necessarily having to be members.
Correct.
Is the idea?
Especially if they're looking for a more touristy oriented experience, and we have a large stock of machine guns that lots of the younger people will recognize from video games. Some of the older people closer to our age will recognize from TV and movies. And we want to put together packages that will allow them to have that experience, whether it be, hey, I want the Die Hard package where I get to shoot a Beretta M9 and a MP5 and a Steyr-AUG, thank you. And the younger kids can go, I can do the Call of Duty package where I get to shoot an M4, a SAW, and a Barrett 50 cal, and that way we can package it in a way that everybody's familiar with or is familiar to them, and kind of ease the transition for what can be an intimidating experience for some people.
Yeah. Well played. Yeah. Well played, I think.
Well, the flip side to that is, with our focus on that customer experience, is there is that intimidation factor that we want to avoid at the same time. And so one of the complaints that we hear about, indoor ranges and a challenge to the operator of a facility like that is that you might be bringing a niece or something like that to shoot for the first time in our facility, and you put her on a Ruger 10/22 in the lane. You want it to be comfortable. You're introducing it to her slowly, and the last thing you want is a shooter in the next lane over, 2 feet away from you technically, to be shooting a short barrel 30 caliber rifle with a muzzle brake, and the concussion is punishing. Now, I want that rifle shooter in our facility, but we have a different bay for them to be shooting in. We are literally designing this facility to make the experience and the comfort of the local community, our guests, as well as visitors, comfortable and something that they're going to want to come back and do it again.
So let's talk about some of the challenges in developing this, because this seems like a massive undertaking with a whole bunch of constraints. And I think that people getting into building a business don't think far enough ahead. So let's talk about some of the things that you guys have come up against. Let's start with zoning or the county. Let's go.
That's an area where we kind of lucked out.
Yeah. With our current parcel that we're have an offer in to go into contract on right now, we're ready to move forward with it and break ground. It is actually inside a PUD or planned unit development, so it's like a master plan business park area that is locked in zoning from, I believe, the early 1990s. And our use in, I think the old school term in the municipal code or the development code is indoor shooting gallery, is actually an allowed use by right. So our responsibility with that is to design a building, which we have, that meets all building codes, occupational safety codes, health codes, And as long as we build it to the building and health codes and safety codes, there's no special permit that we have to apply for that anybody gets to vote on. If we're building it to code, they have to issue the permit. So that's not an issue that we've had. Now, we do have issues with licensing.
I just want to pop in real quick and say to the Reno City Council, we don't want you to see that as a challenge to you. Please don't feel like you need to prove us wrong on that.
Right. Let that slide. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually have had a really good feedback from a lot of government entities. When we see the success that full auto rental ranges are having in southern Nevada, to think that we can create an attraction like that here in our market when we're only 40 or 45 minutes from the lake, 2 hours from Sacramento, and 4 hours from the Bay. Meanwhile, people drive 4 hours from LA to even get to Vegas. So we've actually had some really good feedback from people in our local government to really kind of support our venture, and part of that is also partnering with local law enforcement agencies.
I was going to get there.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And local, federal, everybody. We're huge law enforcement supporters, and we're not going to apologize for that ever. And anything we can do to make their lives easier, because they have a ton of constraints as far as how they can get their training done, the facilities that are available for that, the taxpayer dollars that fund those things. There are huge constraints for those guys. And anything we can do to ease that burden for them, we look forward to stepping in and filling that gap to the extent that we can.
Fantastic. Now, what other things have you guys come up against on the way?
It's interesting because we bring so much from our different backgrounds to this project, but at the same time, there's so much that you learn that you don't know. Like, I had to learn a ton about commercial real estate development because we're designing a facility literally from the ground up. I had to learn a lot about what do I want to call it, securities law, because the method that we've used to raise money, which has actually gone very, very well, applies to SEC regulations. And I didn't know anything about that. And so it's incredible the amount of learning that I did, and the drive to get towards that next step. And sometimes it was even trying to uncover what that next step was. But the drive to do that and to be able to uncover, okay, here's the next potential, thing that we could do to move this project forward. That may be inside a subject or a kind of a specialty that we may not have had in our background. And we've learned to not be intimidated by that, not be afraid to ask for help, to ask questions, and to seek out the best possible resources we can. And that's something that Finn and I are really proud to have built, a really good network of professionals here in Northern Nevada that not only support our business as a project, but also support us as entrepreneurs. And likewise, we do the same to them.
Do you guys, with the other clubs in the area, have you guys got any feedback from them?
We have actually been familiar with a lot of those people. Steve for longer than I have, but instantly once I got into town, I wanted to go make friends with everybody I could in the firearms business. And I was pleasantly surprised to find out that, hey, these are other people that are passionate about shooting sports, and the kind of rising tide raises all boats philosophy was overwhelmingly what we encountered at every step along the way. We're great friends with the couple that runs Nevada Firearms Academy. They run the range out at Pyramid now for the county, and they have a great not only facility, but they have great events out there. I was just out there last weekend for the Shoot SIG event, which we were invited to personally by those guys. And I just want to point out that in this community, we have encountered some great mentors. And when you kind of come in with some humility and knowing what you don't know, we have just got a ton of support from people who are like, hey, this is what you need to think about. Have you thought about this yet? This is the best way to attack this. And Steve can speak to the research that we've done about what this community will support as far as shooting sports. But there's more than enough customers to go around here.
Yeah. No, it has, unfortunately, I think the shooting sports and firearms industry still, has a kind of a reputation of being insular as far as, everyone wants to kind of hold on to the little bit that they've got. Mm-hmm. And I think that's changed. And I think that people need to recognize how much that's changed, because we go at it with an abundance mentality. Like, there is more than enough for everybody. And when we look at it from a business planning perspective and the size of our facility, the location, all this stuff, we didn't take any guesses on this. We actually identified the areas in our market where our business could be the most successful. And as far as how many lanes we built, how large of a retail, we actually went to the industry experts and our industry trade organization and did a custom market report where we dropped a pin on our preferred location, and we did 15 and 35 mile radius, and it gave us all the demographics on potential customers. The industry knows in a medium-sized market like ours, the industry can generally support about one indoor shooting range for about every 10,000 residents. And so we didn't have to do a lot of guesswork or kind of reinvent the wheel on this. This is an established industry and in a well-known market. And so what we're able to do is move forward in a entrepreneurial spirit, working in this startup in a way that, complements the existing businesses here, and at the same time brings something that just does not exist in this region.
Now, Finn, I want to, because your background, I think, how is this feeling for you? I mean, with what you did in with your service, how does this starting a business thing feel?
It's an intimidating process, I'll be honest, and that's obviously not something that's comfortable for any Marine to admit to anybody, that anything could possibly be intimidating. But it's nice that I've had my guide here to help me through much of it, and I've always been somebody who was not afraid to admit when I don't understand something or know a certain thing about a certain segment that I'm not familiar with. But what I have a ton of experience with is being put into unfamiliar situations and being expected to produce a result to a high level. And so that's not something that's unfamiliar to me. So as long as I have the appropriate information to gather, that's something that falls right in with my skill set as far as I'm concerned. One of the parts I'm most excited about is getting back to leading a team, which is one of my favorite parts about being in the Marine Corps. I retired as a master sergeant, which means I had upwards of 40 Marines working under me, and these are not young 22-year-old guys. These are experienced bomb technicians who are sergeants and above at that point, and they all have their own opinions about how things should work and what they need in order to do their jobs. And so I got thrown a lot of curveballs throughout my career, and you encounter a lot of characters who think that they have the line on how things should go. And I found that to be a great challenge, to not only spend the time that I spent in the Marine Corps and do a passable job. At least I think they kept promoting me. So I guess we could say that happened. But what I'm proudest about is that I was able to take these guys from a diverse set of circumstances who were very intelligent in their own rights and had their own ideas about doing things. We're able to lead those guys into productive results. Has given me the confidence to know that once we get up and running, the employees that we have there are going to be not only excited about our vision, but going to be able to implement it at a high level, because that's what our expectations are going to be, and that's the culture that we're going to build within our establishment.
Let's talk about team size, because that is an interesting point that you bring up. What are you guys looking at as far as staff size for this facility?
It's shaping up to be Anywhere between 20 and 30.
Okay.
And that one of the questions on there is if we're running our own restaurant or if we're leasing the space to a partner operator. And that's something that we're still working through.
Okay.
For me, it's similar. It's great to hear, Finn's team size and his leadership experience, because most of the national brand hotels that I ran generally had staff sizes very similar to the facility that we're building, and also profit centers that the number of profit centers is very close. And so that's something that was kind of a pleasant surprise for me. It was like, oh wait, I've done this before. This is as far as running this many departments, this number of staff, responsible for this much revenue. It actually, the alignment between, and even from a much different industry, it's actually something that feels very familiar. And I was excited as Finn is to get the building open and get that team built and lead them to success. And one of the key things about it that is probably a little different for me is driving business results. The results that Finn was responsible for were life and death. And they were, and sometimes at the extreme level. I never had that experience, but what I can tell you is I was very responsible for delivering profitable revenue results to stakeholders in my corporate career. And when we business plan it is a passion project, but this is a business venture, and we are planning for profitability and revenue generation from day one. And we both believe how fun it's going to be to lead a team and to really be able to deliver for these customers. But at the same time, we're running a business and our focus is on revenue. And the great thing is we're planning for success on that side as well.
You guys have both kind of spoke to the humanistic approach of running a business, right? The humility that comes with, you'd said, knowing what you don't know, or, figuring out how to ask for help when you need it.
Sure.
Who are some of the people that have been, I guess, influential or able to get you guys moving forward when you guys do get stuck, that you might want to say, hey, thanks, man?
We've had some great mentors within the community, and I've been constantly impressed with how everybody's been more than willing to say, hey, I know that you don't understand this aspect of this thing. That doesn't mean that I think that you're incompetent. But this is something that's very specialized, and, I understand that it wouldn't fall within a normal person's purview, so I'm going to take you by the hand like a small child. And we both have the level of humility to be like, thank you very much. That's exactly the level at which I'd like you to present that to me.
Yeah.
But if you want to talk about some specific people that have helped us along the way, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Northern Nevada Small Business Development Center provides mentorship as well as other services to entrepreneurs in the community. And I've talked to several people in that organization. I wish I could remember all the names. I think that Finn will talk has probably the name of one of the mentors he's worked directly with. One of the ones that's benefited me the most is an amazing fellow veteran and West Point grad named Duke Nishimura, and he's just been incredible supporting us in that. In our networking community and just businesses supporting businesses, one of the kind of, I would say, almost like a peer group that's really grown to be self-supporting, across businesses, other entrepreneurs, would be just the Brewing Up Business community that meets on Wednesdays in Reno.
Bill West.
That's headed up, Bill West from Bare Knuckle Branding, and he's brings together people in a way that's very different from other kind of just big crowd networking events where you feel lost in the crowd. Bill just kind of mentors a community of business people.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
If anybody in the Reno area is looking to expand their business or start a business, Brewing Up Business, you can look it up on Facebook, and they'll tell you the next location. Happens every Wednesday, every week, at a different establishment that may or may not serve alcohol. And everybody has a good time. Everybody networks, and it's very low level of intimidation, and very welcoming. So we definitely highly recommend that.
So as you guys are getting closer to signing this lease, right?
Yeah.
A pivotal and probably super scary reality is starting to probably set on you guys. What now do you guys see? Are you guys starting to look into like a 5-10 year plan? I mean, what now? What?
Yeah.
What's
Well,
happening?
First, I want to say that one scary thing is that this is never going to happen, that we're never going to be able to put all the pieces together to make this project together because there's so many and it's a difficult process.
Mm-hmm.
Almost scarier is the fact that we are going to be able to pull it together and this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be on our shoulders to take this thing and carry it across, the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's something we take very seriously. But to your point, it's almost intimidating both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's funny because Finn and I look at it the same way and we use the same words. It's kind of crazy to think about that the finish line is our starting point, right? Building built, facility open, team hired, customers walking in the door on grand opening, and to think of the timeline, the effort, and everything we've had to do in planning, design, and development just to look at that. Because we can look back 5-8 years to the synthesis of this project. So to look forward for in the next 12 to 24 months, that might happen. I mean, we strongly feel it's going to happen. We strongly believe that, and so that's the finish of the development, the startup, and then we get to run the business. So the opportunity to not only kind of bring the development along is something that's very exciting, and that kind of closes a chapter, but it opens that next piece. And so as far as the timeline goes, that 5 or 10 year, okay, our design on this, and I'm not going to say our hope, but our insistence on success is of course profitability and financial success, but also, like I said before, to be identified as an amazing partner in the community for education, for safety, for recreation, for fun. We're creating a regional facility and we want people to come and use it and have a great time. We've already talked about deliberately designing this to be a top-rated attraction for visitors to the Reno Tahoe market. And so within that 5 years, that's the measuring stick is it a profitable business? Because it's designed to be. So we're going to run it as one, but at the same time, we're paying attention to the level of service, the level of quality, and also the business results. Are we recognized in the community as being the partner that we want to be, that resource to both our local neighbors as well as our visitors?
Do you have anything else to add, Finn?
It's hard to follow that up.
That was fantastic. Okay, this is kind of a trivial question, but when you guys decided we're moving forward with this project versus now we're getting to the next chapter, what part has been scarier?
I think Finn kind of really nailed it earlier. That point of either it for some reason not happening on one hand, but also when it becomes real. And real in two ways. Real in as far as we're pushing dirt around and the building's going to get put up. Is phase one, like under construction. Like this is happening because once you engage in that level of commercial real estate development to build an actual brick and mortar facility, then you're making commitments that have to be followed through. And we're very confident that it's very real to us, but I wouldn't call it scary. It's exciting, but it makes it real, right? It's that reality of, okay, it is happening.
There's real world consequences attached.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
no turning back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But more in a positive, exciting way. And then looking at grand opening, doors open, and welcoming, both, not just the customers, but like Finn said, welcoming a team of motivated people who share our vision. And I can't tell you, I mean, you're kind of in the industry too with First Line, right? And to know that the deep bench that we have here in Northern Nevada of talent for the firearms industry, for people who know about retail and sales and firearms instruction, we're not going to be hurting for talent in this market as far as being able to choose people who want to deliver the level of quality that we're insisting on in our facility
and the level of service, and that we want instructors who are able to meet people at the level that they're at, not make people feel other than because they don't have a certain level of expertise in fire, whether it be firearms or first aid, because we want to tackle a lot of different training aspects along the way. And one of the first things that really impressed me about Steve is he was like, I can't wait till we're gonna have a booth at bridal showers. And I was like, what
Fantastic.
on earth are you talking about? Yeah. And he was like, we need to get these young ladies who are starting family, they're starting their marriage or starting families, and show them how to build a household that's both safe and both medically and in a self-defense aspect, and take them. And I was like, I've never thought of something like that before. Yeah. And those are the kinds of things that impress me about his background, is it allows him to think outside the box in those kind of scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the way I put it to people is that we are going to be unapologetic about the spaces that we join. And one of those things is something like bridal expos, maybe even in Sacramento, California, and be over there, because a lot of bachelor and bachelorette parties and destination weddings happen in the Reno Tahoe area. Mm-hmm. And so we're not going to be shy about presenting the opportunity to present the experience that will offer something like a bachelor or bachelorette party. We know it's successful. The Vegas ranges are doing it. And so we're going to be there, unapologetically and with a smile on our face saying, hey, come in and we're going to treat you to such a good time. Mm-hmm. And, and I think that's it. And something that Finn even alluded to as well is I want to go to the baby expos too, because you may have a new family starting out. There may be a firearm in that household, maybe not. But when you're bringing children into the equation, now we want to talk about safe storage. We want to talk about home safety. And maybe that has to do with firearms, maybe it doesn't. We want to talk about safe storage. Used to be, I think when I would say we were kids, there was home safety classes taught. Back when you had the old phone on the wall and there was that sticker with the Poison Control Center number on it, right? And they would teach you how to lock up your chemicals, and if you had toddlers around, how to the cabinet locks and the outlet covers and things like that. There used to be classes for this. Mm-hmm. I don't know if our community has that resource anymore, and we want to step into that gap. And maybe even these days it's like lock your prescription drugs up from your middle schoolers. Who knows? Mm-hmm. Times are changing.
Sure they are.
It's not necessarily about selling someone a firearm. That's not our position. Again, and I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but our insistence is that we take a position in our region, in our community here in Northern Nevada, to be a resource for our community, and say we're going to provide safety information. Whether it's stop the bleed courses, whether it's home safety, home security. If it involves a firearm or maybe a less lethal option, or just being aware of your surroundings so that you can be active in community without being scared or wondering kind of what are the steps that you're taking to make sure that you are safe in your home and also when you're out here in our community, because these are our neighbors. Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a really important question. Okay, I see your glass is empty.
Oh, I was just going to bring that up myself.
We need to circle back.
Might be let's talk about some whiskey. Are you want to get some ice for that?
No.
You want to just go?
No. Let's do a splash.
Okay. Finn, how you doing over there?
Ready and willing.
Okay. There you go. There's plenty
Perfect.
of it, boys.
Thank you.
go.
Yeah, the ice was the soft intro.
Just getting started with it, yeah.
And
Yeah.
now we're ready to party.
You guys can get down with the actual full experience.
Well, let's do a new sniff then.
Yeah, I think the more this breeze, I think the more excited I get about it, honestly.
Wow.
I do have to kind of to breathe in past the alcohol a little bit.
Yeah.
To get to some of the notes, but
That's one of the things I've learned, and this is just me talking from things that I've been taught. But that's one of the cool things about the Glens.
yeah,
Right. But the ethanol coming off the top of the glass.
yeah.
So as you're not actually getting that, you're actually trying to get in there and get.
So you admit to cheating.
I do.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things that, and I think we talked about it when we first met, but Troy down at Battleborn, he does these whiskey snob classes, and they're really not snob classes. They're more just a bunch of like-minded individuals getting in, and it's super fun because he does talk about the theatrics and all the things that come along with whiskey. And you talked about it earlier, the price points, like finding the budget whiskeys that actually do perform well below what they should be listed at. And I think we've gotten to a point in society where you're paying because people are willing to pay. You're not necessarily getting a good product, a better product.
Yeah.
Right. There's so many good budget whiskeys under $100. Sure. And that's, I think, when I set out to do a podcast, that was the idea. Is that we could go find $200, $300, $400, $500 bottles, right, all day long. Wife would have been pissed, but finding stuff under $100.
Yeah.
And then, finding stuff that doesn't drink like, a Jack Black.
Yeah.
And they're out there all over the place, like you talked about. I mean, finding those deals, getting in there. Like I said, this was I think a $50, $60 bottle maybe, and it's a good pour.
Yeah. I will say that there's areas in which I'm not opposed to flex culture at all, and you see it within the firearms community, you see it within the alcohol community, where people are getting these things, and it's like past a certain point you have a fall off in the amount that you're actually getting a better product.
Sure.
And it's great I love flexing on my buddies as much as the next guy, but it really to your point, where the value can be really found is like, where's that middle ground? And that's where I think there's a lot of value to these kind of experiences, where we can all sit down and say, hey, let's put, the top shelves aside. Where do we like to meet when we're just our utility drinking?
Utility drinking. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
You don't want to, I mean, you go out and find these really expensive bottles, and you may or may not absolutely love them, right? But the scariest part about that is eventually it's going to be gone. And so you're going to share that whiskey, you're going to have the conversations, you're going to have the memories of it, to never have it again. It's the saddest, scariest story I've ever told. But like I said, this going out and finding something that you don't care about getting rid of, you can go replace it. It's probably just as good the next bottle. But
Yeah, it's interesting the scarcity mentality sometimes among collectors. It's that look at the bottle I got, and that literally is look, because we're not pulling it off the shelf and opening it. And so the actual act of pulling the bottle off the shelf, opening it, and sharing it among friends, what you just said, Joel, is kind of the enjoyment that I get out of it. And it's really, we're blessed to have friends and peers and that enjoy it kind of like I think the three of us do, where let's try it, let's talk about it, let's try it, let's enjoy it, and let's figure out what we like. We're not going to like everything, but I'd almost rather take a chance on something that someone might look down on, but might be surprising and how good it is for the price point, than feel bad about opening something that someone paid too much for.
Sure. I'm
like, let's find that kind of that middle ground, because both are fun.
Now you guys. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. What I will say in defense of the people with exorbitant collections is that what I appreciate about those kind of people is, like, when you go visit those type of people, you know exactly where you exist in their estimation, right? Where they reach.
Not that.
Where they reach when it's time to, for you to get your drink there, and you go, no, show me what you want to show me, and judging by how high up on their shelves they reach, you know exactly where you sit. And I love knowing that about people. So
sure. Yeah. It's tough because there is such a tribal aspect of whiskey, and sitting back by the fire pit with the cigars and all that whole thing. There is something about that I think that really we are such simple creatures. But it's funny because if you spend a lot of money on a bottle, how scary it is to give that bottle to somebody and they're gonna just go use it as a mixer, and you're like, well, that was a $300 bottle. Trying to bro you, and then you ruined it, right?
You slapped me right in the face.
But still thinking about it, the same aspect. I mean, it's not whiskey until you share it.
Sure.
I love that. Yeah,
that's a good point.
It's just a bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I've had incredible, just to the point of Finn's like, okay, you're reaching for that shelf, but not that shelf. Mm-hmm. I have had people reach to the shelf unexpectedly, or let's say go honestly in a closet where there's not even that bottle's not even on the shelf, and bring it out and treat me with that hospitality and set that standard for me that I enjoy it as well. And so to your point, to just, even if it's the smallest splash, and just say, you know what, try this, try this. And again, it's not the value is in the sharing and in enjoying it with people that you care about.
I have a bottle of Rare Character that I got from Troy down at Battleborn Wine, and it's my absolute favorite whiskey I've ever had. And there's no more of it. Right? Okay. He did a barrel pick with Rare Character, and this was one of the last bottles that he had. And so, but it's one of those things where it's like, if that thing's coming out, we're gonna try it, because I want everybody to experience what I feel is my absolute favorite whiskey I've ever had, right? Yeah. And at the same time, shed tears because I know that's 1 ounce or 2 ounces that I'll never see again, right? And it's like you can't reproduce it. Now,
it's a real emotional roller coaster.
It is, and I think that's one of the things that gets forgotten about with the collecting of whiskey, the sharing of whiskey. I mean, I have 100 and something bottles in my collection, right? But they all have a story, and they all have done something for me, right? There's a moment that I've shared on the podcast, or a moment around a barbecue or whatever, and they all have a moment with them. And so humanizing whiskey, I think, is the weirdest thing ever, but it really does. Like this, what's left of this bottle. I mean, this is going to be this conversation that we've had, right? Yeah. And it's fun to think about that, because I have a shelf, in my garage, and I can tell you where every single one of those bottles came from. Yeah. Right? They're all empty, but I can remember where they came from.
Well, and Joel, let me ask you a question. So this is the Bourbon Ballistics Podcast, and I'm a fan. Like I'm a listener, a viewer on YouTube, and we're just coming now off of I just enjoyed your episode with Team Whiskey, and Finn and I had the pleasure of representing the Nevada Shooting Sports. We bought space at the Team Whiskey Bonanza event in April, 2026, and
it was a good time.
And it was a great time, and there was people in our community who said, wait, they're doing activities for kids, but it's the Team Whiskey Bonanza event. And I just don't think that people understand quite what, let's just say here in Northern Nevada, in our region here, kind of how maybe bourbon and whiskey kind of brings the community together. Mm-hmm. And all these episodes you've done, all these different types of guests, and especially entrepreneurs and businesses, have connected over this in the social way that we've been talking about. Like, what do you see kind of that thread that continues on kind of through all those different types of guests, different parts of our community, but kind of pulls through with that?
We are very blessed to live where we do. And that, I mean, there is, bar none, that's probably the biggest piece of that puzzle. I mean, we're fortunate enough to have, especially in these industries, both of them, on the whiskey side and firearms, a circle and network of people that have no problem going out and sharing their knowledge, their experiences, saying this one almost buried me, right? We talked about this when we first met. You know, Russ Bacon at Nevada Cerakote.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are friends with him.
Great guy.
And he was kind of, when we started First Line Ballistics, he was essentially the guy holding our hand and going, "This is how you start a business," right?
Yeah.
And he has been nothing but helpful to me from the target side all the way to the podcast, helping line me out with guests and introduce me to people that I probably would have never met. So that's going to be the fabric, the knit in the fabric that makes this all happen.
Yeah, I want to give another shout out to Russ, because I just probably one of the first things I heard when I moved to Northern Nevada years and years ago was those goofy ads on the radio back in the day. So it still makes me smile thinking about it.
That is funny.
I think there's an interesting, like, semi-ironic point to be made about the fact that, whether it be bourbon, whiskey, firearms, all these things that we consider to be very adult activities, tend to produce, when I see people gather around these things, the most wholesome, family-oriented results. The community that surrounds that tends to be inordinately, wholesome in relation to how, if you wanted to be negative about it, be these like things that we strictly control and are looked down upon by some aspects of our society. But in my experience, it's the activities surrounding these things tend to be the most wholesome family activities that I've encountered.
They do.
Yeah,
they do. I want to give you guys an opportunity to really talk about the business. As I think that there's so many aspects to. I mean, you guys know that I like talking about, the struggles that come with it, because I think people don't realize when they're getting into something. We talked about before I started the show, even the podcast itself, right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize what it was going to take to do it. Now you guys are doing something way bigger, large scale. And I want to talk about, have you guys seen, for me as a project manager, scheduling, implosions, EOD, let's talk about, things getting completely blown to smithereens.
Yeah.
How has your guys' scheduling looked on this project?
First of all, I want to say that your expression "blown to smithereens" reminds me of a story that I feel now required to share.
You
that
must.
When I was deploying at a high rate to some very dangerous places, and I was feeling very whimsical about my chances of survival.
Okay.
I insisted that my wife, and I put it in my will at the time, because they make you rewrite your will every time you deploy so that it's up to date, and if the worst happens, that things will be handled appropriately. I made it a point of, this must happen in my will, that it be on my tombstone that Finn West, born, died, blown to smithereens. And we still my wife and I still like to joke about that.
Is it still in the will?
Yeah. It's I don't think it's still in there. I think we've revised since then, since it's much more unlikely that's the way things occur. But that's the kind of spirit with which myself and a lot of my compatriots took our experiences during those times, and you brought up blown to smithereens, and it brought it right to the forefront, so I had to share that story.
So let's talk about that. I mean, you guys going into this business, family life. I mean, how has that been? You're married too?
Okay, good question.
Okay.
So it's again, we're coming just off of the tail of the Team Whiskey kind of creation story.
You met your wife there?
No, but through his journey and some of his trials and losses aren't that dissimilar from mine, actually. The genesis of Nevada Shooting Sports did start with a different partnership, and that was with my amazing wife, who unfortunately I lost 5 years ago. to just kind of a sudden illness and lost that way. And so it was, like I told you, that we have every startup and every entrepreneurial journey has its kind of own winding road. And so it's interesting. And the one thing I'll say is that there are still things on the plans and will be in our building that are there because this amazing woman applied her touch to them. And as guys, I think that it's not too hard to give that credit. And so that is a reality of it. And so that's part of my journey. That was part of the genesis of this project, the full, like, unwavering support to shift from a corporate career with all the benefits and the salary and everything to a startup venture, to have that support, and it was incredible. And so I have to recognize that. I have one adult son. He's 21 years old. He is profoundly disabled. He lives at the Eagle Valley Children's Home in Carson City and is thriving there. Amazing young man, killing it. So that's kind of my quick family story. And so I've been very lucky in a lot of ways. I've had some challenges in some ways, but those are the kind of things that, again, add to our story and sometimes drive us forward.
Gotcha. Well, I'm sorry to hear about you. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
That sucks. But like I said, I think you're doing exactly what she was hoping you would do.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think she'd like to probably push me a little bit harder right now.
And where does your wife land, Finn?
So I met my wife when I was going to EOD school. I don't know if probably not a lot of people know this, but EOD school is located for all 4 branches of service at Eglin Air Force Base. And being a Marine on an Air Force base, I couldn't recommend it enough to anybody. You want to avoid those Marine girls. They're a little feisty. They're kind of tough. But if you can land yourself a nice airman, they're the best out there. She's awesome. I met her while I was at Eglin Air Force Base. She worked in the hospital there. And we hit it off immediately. She's from the Midwest, where they're, I don't know if I'm going to offend anybody here, but they're a little less high maintenance than some of those West Coast girls that I became more familiar with.
I think we all know that. Yeah.
And I just can't say enough about her. Steve knows that all of my friends are shocked at how much I get away with. As far as I need to go here, I need to go there, I need to do this for that, and she just rolls with the punches. She takes care of our kids. I have twin 11-year-old boys and a 6-year-old girl.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And she not only takes all that on personally and asks very little of me, I have to inject myself into certain situations, and she, and of course, is ecstatic whenever I'm able to do that. But she holds down the home front for me while I'm able to go out on these, risky ventures, and she's been doing that. And that's basically what I've been doing since I met her, is going out on risky ventures and being able to count on her support throughout that entire process without her turning it into another difficulty that has to be dealt with. And I can't say enough about how awesome Bree is. So throw it out there. That's for you, baby.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're gonna love that. Now I have when I decided to start a podcast, it was more personally selfish. I think for reasons. I wanted to get better at talking to people. There's a lot of things that I was seeing when I'd go in for job interviews that I didn't think I did very well. So I was, why not start a podcast, right? And like we talked about, not knowing the difficulties of having a podcast. Nothing like you guys are up against right now, but it's a lot more work. And so I think that having that support from your spouse, I think to chase your dumb dream, whatever that dumb dream is, I think is monumental. And I think that, there's a lot of dudes out there and females as well. But, if you don't have the support of your spouse going into this, all it's going to be is just arguments. There's going to be so much. It's going to be so divisive.
Sure.
And I think that you guys are fortunate because this is no small feat. And so, again, it's nice to hear that you guys both have the blessings of your wives to move forward on this, because I would, I don't know that I would have.
What area do you feel like that you've kind of been able to turn this into a benefit for yourself?
One of the things is, I think the biggest thing is the vulnerability of talking in front of people, right? Sure. Pitches, fine. Pitching yourself is even harder. But the one fun thing about the podcast is I'm not necessarily doing the talking. It's just making sure that the stories that are being told are captured, right? There's been plenty of times where there's been technical difficulties, haven't been able to hit record, didn't turn the mics on, like all these things have happened. Yeah. But it's a fun opportunity for me to get more familiar with getting out there and making this whole thing happen. And then hopefully at some point capturing an audience that gets to hear your guys' stories. And I think that's the biggest, the biggest reward is going to be that.
Yeah.
When people actually get to hear, if they're back on the East Coast, that this business venture exists.
Yes.
Right. If they're coming to Tahoe, they can come see you guys. Like that's why I'm doing this.
Wow.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. And I just want to give an extra plug for Finn and his family, because his wife is as amazing as he says, and he has incredible kids, and he even has an awesome dog.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
I'm a German Shepherd guy. I've had German Shepherds my entire life, and I have a 105-pound mammoth dog that is the sweetest creature on God's green earth, for sure.
So what do you guys think? I mean, as far as on the family side, some of the sacrifices that you guys are having to make, because people want to chase a dream, right?
Sure.
What are you guys realizing now, like the cost of this?
Well, I'll speak for myself first and say I'm lucky enough to where my career provided me the opportunity to have retirement income. I'm 47 now, I believe. My wife will correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah. I think that those are the latest numbers.
Okay.
And so to have retirement income and to basically be able to meet our financial obligations month to month offers a lot of flexibility. For the first couple of years after I retired, I did a lot of traveling back and forth to Eastern Europe, where I was training Ukrainian bomb technicians in third-party countries, and they were giving me what they told me was their smartest Ukrainian soldiers, and they definitely were smart guys. They were very competent drinkers as well.
Okay.
A lot of my job was keeping them out of jail after I, let them go for the day after their periods of instruction. So that's a whole nother story, but yeah, it's something to be dealt with for sure.
Yeah, it's both let's just say compensation or salary or job earning opportunities, I guess is the best way to say it, that we have both given up to pursue this shared dream of ours. That's something, and it's.
We've been asking in various meetings what our financial stake is so far.
Yeah.
And it's hard to explain to somebody. They're like, what exactly have you invested so far? And obviously there's the concrete costs, that have been invested so far and to get the products that we have.
Yeah.
But there's also what we've given up along the way, which is a little trickier to lay down in a set of concrete numbers.
Yeah. What's it worth, right?
But it's a reality is that we've sacrificed, and our families have sacrificed to support us in this journey. This is it is a big project. It's something that again we feel strongly. I mean, Finn, the way that he's connected here in Northern Nevada in the time that he's been here since his military retirement, and in the 23 years I've been in Nevada, 17 in Northern Nevada, and, this is home. Is it a passion of mine personally to build this business? Yes, and I'm excited to share that, but it's something that our community needs, and not only do the two of us recognize that, but our families recognize that, our peers recognize that, and the amount of people who have stood next to us, stood behind us in this, and helped us out along the way is really incredible. But it's been a sacrifice just to continue the pursuit. But we know what's kind of on the horizon, and what's on the horizon is a business that succeeds. Where it's I'll tell you a little story.
Good.
I attended one of these kind of small business, like, so you want to start your own business classes, that they have.
Was it up here in Reno?
It was in Reno,
okay.
Sponsored by one of the government agencies, and and I was in the room, and they were talking about the steps to start your own business, and it was really interesting because you're maybe in a room with maybe a hairstylist who had been running a chair in a salon for so many years and thought that she could start her own hairstyle business in her own salon, but has never run her own business. Or maybe your favorite aunt who bakes the best cupcakes you've ever tasted, and you should start your own bakery, but she's never run a business. The thing is that the level of execution and organization and profit generation and revenue generation that I've done in my corporate career, and also the level of execution that Finn has done in his career, is it's not on the same quite level. When we're pursuing opportunities in the business world to drive this development, whether it's engaging with investors, other stakeholders in our community, other real estate development, things like that.
Construction company.
Commercial construction. We are engaged on a level that is very, very developed as far as the type of projects that are getting built, the type of businesses that are getting open, and the partnerships that we're building in community. It's not, when you read these horrible statistics about 80% of new small businesses, fail or things like that. Just because you bake a great cake doesn't mean you're going to be a good business person. And so being exposed to some of those environments, it was at one time, kind of invigorating to say, I know what's going to be on this guy's next slide because I've already lived it in operating businesses in my corporate environment or leading teams in serious environments. This is not something that's outside of our existing skill sets.
So when you guys get launched, get the doors open, what is the benchmark? I mean, obviously we talked about the financial. We want to recoup loss. We want to start profiting, right?
Yeah.
But what does success in this business venture actually look like for each one of you?
I think the thing that Steve has hit a couple of times here is if we're seen by the community as not only a destination that benefits the entire community, not only us, but also as a huge resource for everybody involved, where they're able to come there and not only spend money, which obviously benefits us to a certain extent, but we're able to offer something back that is more than just a place where they can go and fire bullets, at a paper target. We want to be able to be something that, not only for the residents, but for law enforcement agencies, for something that benefits the tourist industry, because that's great for everybody in town as well. So we have to be successful on a number of different levels that maybe some people who are starting businesses don't even conceive as goals of theirs. And I think it speaks to how much thought that Steve has put into this, that that's kind of where his passion lies. And as soon as he started speaking to me on those things, like, I immediately cottoned onto that, and now that's our bar for success.
Yeah, it's not simply running a business that's not going out of business. It's not simply being able to own and run a business that can pay the bills of the owners and keep a staff. It's a level of excellence that we require of ourselves individually, and that goes on right now in our pursuit of the development and the startup. But to your point, once the doors are open, that expectation is, like Finn said, like I've already said, being the top rated attraction in the Reno Tahoe market. Like that is our expectation, to being the recognized community resource for education and safety and recreation. It's to be one of the top rated employers in our community, to be where people seek out to come and work with us and work for us. It's not something that we hope for. It's something that we're planning for. It's an expectation of ours to deliver on those results. It's not something that, if we maybe hit everything right, we'll do really well in this category. It's our expectation that our results are going to be at that level. And so what do we need to do now, and what do we need to be doing when we're running our business to deliver on that expectation?
Very good. Now, as we get kind of winding down here, I want to make sure that I hit all the points that you guys were hoping to get across today. I know, like I said, this is a pivotal moment in your guys' journey here. So is there anything that you guys can say, whether it be about the business or to people that are starting a new business, that you guys have learned throughout the way that would be helpful to help them succeed?
I want to first say that, like, if this is something that you want to pursue in owning your own business, the first thing is expect for it to cost twice as much as you expect and take twice as long as you expect it to. The second is you have to get yourself great mentors, people that are willing to take you by the hand, like I said, like a small child, and walk you into these things. And you would be shocked at the level of people who are willing to help you out if you're willing to show a little bit of humility and admit what you don't know and where you need some assistance. And people will come out of the woodwork to help you with those sort of things. And if our project is something that other people are interested in and they feel like you can contribute something, whether it be knowledge, resources, information, to us, please get in contact with us at nevadashootingsports.com, all one word, and let us know what that may be. Even if you just want to tell us that, hey, that sounds like a great idea and I can't wait till you guys are open. That sort of stuff recharges us as well. And we are here to service this community. And so we want to know what their expectations of us are. And we reject nothing as far as any information people want to give us, expectations that you have of us, features that you would like to see in this establishment. And if you think you know something that we might want to know, please get in contact with us and let us know that thing, because there's so many blind spots that we have that we couldn't be more excited to have somebody tell us something that we don't already know.
Yeah. We've learned so much more from humility and being willing to ask questions, being willing to raise our hand and say, I don't understand the thing that you just said. Like, this is a very difficult thing. There's a lot of hoops to jump through, and we've been very successful in the way we've approached a very complicated, very high level development, and we've been very successful with it so far. But that's not because we went in thinking that we knew how to do it. And the more we pushed harder, the more we realized that we had more to learn. And so to be able to seek out those resources, ask those questions, who else should we be talking to? Who else do you know that might be interested? And just always being ask for help, raise your hand, ask questions. We asked to be here with you today, unapologetically, and I'm so glad. So thank you.
Likewise.
Again, just to echo what Finn said, because I want to say it again, nevadashootingsports.com, all the contact information is there. There's a great contact form that comes to me if you fill anything out on that. And we want to, grow partnerships. We want to be able to, again, start now to become that resource for the community.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, guys, I want to first of all thank you for giving up your Friday afternoons. I'm really am so glad that we were able to make this work. This is going to be kind of a two-part-ish types episode we're going to be doing here. You guys have other things going on in the background, but I did want to say, besides NevadaShootingSports.com, all one word, is there any other information out there? Is that be able to sign up for like updates and stuff like that via email? Get progress on what's going on with you guys?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
People will be able to get more information. We'll shoot out emails at different big milestones. Don't worry about giving us your email address. We haven't figured out how to monetize that yet. We're not smart enough for that sort of thing.
Okay.
And please, again, if anybody thinks that there's somebody we should be partnering with, somebody we should meet that will be able to provide us with a critical piece of information that would be useful to us, do not hesitate to get it in a hold of us. That's what that's why we wanted to do this with you, because you're such a great resource. You have a great base of listeners who run in the same industries and have the same passions, and that's why we thought we'd be a great fit for your
Absolutely.
forum.
Absolutely. Yes, and you guys, I want to definitely give a shout out to Barrel Spirits. I mean, this was a great pour, and like I said, it tied very well into the show, talking about sometimes great things do take some time, and whiskey is one of those.
Correct.
You cannot rush it, and so going in and then aging this in two different barrels. I mean, we're kind of the process of making something great, and I think that this is a good attribute to what you guys are creating. So I wanted to say thank you for the time again, and Barrel Spirits for the pour. With that, any final thoughts? Anything we didn't cover? You guys feel good about it?
Feel great. Thank
Feel
you so
great.
much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Joel Potter. This is the Bourbon and Ballistics Podcast. Check us out on all the socials at Bourbon and Ballistics. Until next time.
I cross state lines with hillbillies and guns. It's been a hell of a ride and a whole lot of fun. They gave me many names down there in Dixie.